Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's today's Takes with Alex, and I am your host, Alex. Today we're talking about the prayer of the turning point, okay, the hidden power of the afternoon. Now, what is important to understand is that while this video is through the lens of the Mincha prayer, the Jewish afternoon prayer, the point is that during the day, like throughout the year, right? But also throughout the day, there's different times that different spiritual, there's different changes in terms of the spiritual forces, benevolence, attributes that become more prevalent than others. And so when we are aware of the changes and what the opportunity is during that time, we can all tap in. So remember that these videos are universal spiritual insights for us to learn, to hear, and to understand, so that when we go throughout the day, throughout the year, we have a better insight as to what's happening in the spiritual sense. So there's a moment in the afternoon, you've probably felt it, where the day shifts. It's not quite morning anymore. The coffee, the fresh intentions, the clean slate of the early hours, those are behind you. And evening hasn't arrived yet. The soft permission to rest, to close things down, to say, I'll try again tomorrow, that's still ahead. You're in the middle, and the middle is uncomfortable. Most of us try to push through it, check the phone, get another coffee, power through. But what if that discomfort, that specific particular moment in the afternoon, is actually one of the most spiritually charged moments of your entire day? What if the midpoint wasn't something to survive, but something to enter? That's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to do it through the lens of something ancient, something that has been practiced for thousands of years, the afternoon prayer. In Jewish tradition, it's called mincha, but its wisdom belongs to anyone willing to listen. So let's dive in. To understand why the afternoon prayer is so significant, you first need to understand something about how Torah sees time. Time, in a Torah worldview, is not a flat line. It's not just a sequence of equal moments ticking past. Each part of the day has its own spiritual character, its own quality of light, not just physically, but metaphysically. Morning is the time of chesed, of loving kindness, of expansion, of possibility. The world is opening. There's an energy of newness that's almost tangible if you're paying attention. Evening and night carry a different quality, more inward, more mysterious, more associated with din or judgment or boundary, with boundaries and judgment, and also with rest and restoration. But the afternoon is the hinge. In Hebrew, the word mincha actually means offering or gift. It shares its root with the word menucha, rest, and its etymology connected to the idea of bringing something precious and setting it down. Not throwing it, not discarding it, placing it with intention. The Talmud tells us that Elijah the prophet, at one of the most dramatic moments in all of Scripture, the confrontation on Mount Carmel, calling down fire from heaven, chose the time of mincha to make his stand. Not the morning, not the night, the afternoon. But why? Because the afternoon is when the battle is real. In the morning, your idealism carries you. In the night, exhaustion softens everything. But in the afternoon, you are exactly who you are. No buffers, no fresh start, no excuse of being tired yet. Just you, mid-journey, with everything you've done so far behind you and everything you still have to do ahead of you. That's exactly when Elijah called on the divine, at that turning point. The Zohar, the foundational text of Jewish mysticism, describes the afternoon as the time when harsh judgments are most active in the world, when the shadows literally lengthen, when the warmth of the day begins to withdraw. And it says, this is precisely why prayer at this hour is so powerful, because you are meeting the darkness at its own door. You are not waiting for an easier moment. You are showing up now. Let's step into this from a slightly different angle, because I think you'll feel this in your own experience. There's something researchers call the midday dip. It's the period, usually between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m., where cognitive performance dips, mood often slightly falls, and motivation gets harder to access. It's so universal that entire cultures have built the siesta around it. Your body is telling you something. But in Hasidic thought, the outer world is always a mirror of the inner reality. If there's a dip in energy, a dip in clarity, a dip in mood at this hour, it's not random biology to be hacked or overcome. It's a signal, a knock on the door. The Baal Shem Tov, the great 18th century mystic who founded the Hasidic movement, taught something radical, that the moments of spiritual difficulty are not obstacles to your spiritual work, they are your spiritual work. The darkness isn't blocking the path, the darkness is pointing at something that needs your presence. So when the afternoon comes and you feel that heaviness, that subtle sense of, I don't know if I can make it to evening with my intentions intact, Chassidus says, good, stay there, don't run, don't numb it down, bring something to it. That's what prayer is. Not asking a distant force to fix something for you. Prayer, in this understanding, is the act of bringing your inner world into alignment with something larger than yourself. It's an act of reconnection. And you know what the most powerful time to reconnect is? When you feel the most disconnected. Not when you're riding high on your morning meditation and your green smoothie and your gratitude journal. Anyone can feel connected then. The spiritual work, the real work, is reconnecting when you're tired, when you're distracted, when you've made mistakes already today and you know it. That's mincha. The Torah traces the 3 daily prayers to the 3 patriarchs. Abraham is associated with the morning prayer, Jacob with the evening prayer, and the afternoon prayer is traced to Isaac. This is not a trivial detail. In Torah, nothing is random. Every association carries a teaching. Isaac is the patriarch of Gavura, of strength, boundaries, discipline, and inwardness. Where Abraham was expansive, going outward, welcoming every stranger, Isaac was focused, deepening, and contained. The Zohar says Isaac represents the power of holding, of staying with something even when it's hard. And there's a verse in Genesis that says Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening. The word used for meditate, the suach, is unusual. It can mean to pray, to speak, to pour out one's heart. The rabbis read this as the institution of the afternoon prayer. Think about it. Think about what Isaac was doing. He wasn't in a synagogue. He wasn't surrounded by the community. He was in a field, alone, in the late afternoon light, in that liminal space between the heat of the day and the coming of the night. And he turned that moment into a conversation with the infinite. This is enormously important for universal understanding of prayer, because it tells us that the holy is not confined to buildings, to institutions, to official ritual containers. The holy breaks into the open field. It meets you in the ordinary moment, but it requires something from you, the willingness to stop. Isaac stopped in the middle of his journey, in the middle of the day, and he turned the afternoon, the difficult, inconvenient, in between afternoon, into a place of meeting. The Tzemach Tzedek, one of the early Hasidic masters, wrote that Isaac's afternoon meditation represents the capacity to find depth in the middle, not at the ecstatic beginning, not at the resolved ending, in the unresolved, ongoing, demanding middle. Where are you in your middle right now? In your life, in your work, in your relationships, in your inner journey? That's where the afternoon prayer meets you. Let's go deeper into the word mincha as an offering. In the temple in Jerusalem, there are different kinds of offerings: animal offerings, incense offerings, and mincha offerings, grain offerings, flour, oil, frankincense, simple things. That's things that came from the earth, from labor, from daily life. What's the symbolism? The grain offering wasn't spectacular. You didn't slay a bull. You brought what you grew, what your hands had worked. You brought your ordinary life and made it sacred. This is why mystics consider mincha to be the most powerful of the 3 daily prayers, even more powerful than the morning prayer, which might seem counterintuitive. Here's the key. In the morning, you bring your potential. In the afternoon, you bring your actuality. Anyone can pray with hope. It takes real courage and real depth to pray with honesty. And this is what makes it an offering, because you're not holding anything back. you're not only presenting the beautiful parts of your day to the divine, you're bringing the grain, the ground up, worked over, imperfect material of your actual life and saying, this is also sacred. This counts too. So, what do we do with all of this? I want to make this as concrete as possible because I think the greatest failure of spiritual teaching is when it stays beautiful and abstract and never lands in your actual afternoon prayer. Here's what I want to offer you. Once a day, not in the morning when you're fresh, not at night when you're winding down, but in the afternoon when the day is showing its true face and you're showing yours, stop for even 5 minutes and do something that the tradition would recognize as mincha, even if you're not Jewish, even if you don't have a prayer practice, even if you've never set foot in a house of worship. Stop, acknowledge where you are, not where you wish you were, but where you are. Look at the actual shape of your day so far, the good and the not so good, and bring it. Bring it consciously. Set it down in front of whatever you consider to be the ground of all things, God, the universe, your deepest self, the force that holds it all together. And then make a small intention for what remains of the day. Not a grand resolution, not a dramatic fresh start, just a small honest turning. A mincha, a gift of your actual self. Your afternoon prayer is an important part to connect the beginning of the day to the end of the day, to take an accounting of where you are, what you've accomplished, what you still have to do, and to bring that imperfection as an offering of your labor, of your service for that day. And by consciously praying and bringing that self at that time, you reinvigorate and allow yourself to realign. So thank you for listening. I hope everyone's having a great evening. Wishing everyone the best. Be blessed. And check back tomorrow for another one. Thank you.